Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner, and joining me as always is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Been a pretty decent weekend. Weather's all right. 3 points on the board. I'm certainly a lot better than a lot of other United fans who I spoke to over the last couple of days. But yeah, not too bad. How about yourself? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Again, happy with the victory. It wasn't the best game in the world. But yeah, as you quite rightly said there, a lot of fans unhappy. To be honest, I stayed away from social media for this game. I don't know why. Normally I'm all over it.
Wise.
But
Yeah.
I just couldn't be bothered with it this
Yeah.
time, man. I put one tweet out, which I will come to a bit later, and that was it. And it was literally just like 4 words, no hashtags or anything. Like just 4 words. And I'll come to that a bit later on. But yeah, it was good 3 points. 3 points we needed to stay in the driving seat for the second position.
Yeah.
It wasn't a classic game that I had hoped for, considering it was Wenger's last ever trip to Old Trafford, at least as Arsenal manager. What were your thoughts on the game in general? Be as brief as you like. I mean, not much happened.
Yeah, it shall be brief because, as we've talked about before, I actually didn't watch the game. It's probably maybe the second game I've missed this season.
Well, we appreciate your honesty, Ash.
Yeah, well, I've got to be. I
You could have
didn't.
winged it. You could have lied.
As much as I wanted to watch it, I had other plans. But I've caught up on as much of it as I can, and I'm actually not kind of glad, but it's kind of made it interesting because I couldn't actually keep tabs on the game as much as I wanted to. So I looked at the score. It was 0-0. Then I looked at the score again. It was 1-1. I was thinking, and then I literally left it and I forgot about it. And then I said to a friend of mine when I was driving back, "Oh, check the score for me. What was it?" And he said, "You'll never guess what." I said, "Oh, what was it? Who's one of your favourite players on the United team?" And I went, "Obviously, it's going to be Fellaini you're mentioning." And I said, "You'll never guess what he's done." And I thought, he's guaranteed he's elbowed someone or he's got sent off or caused the penalty. He said, "No, he scored the winner." And I was ecstatic with that. So I was chuffed. And as I said, I've watched pretty much as many, clips and as previews, aside from watching the full match itself, I've got a pretty good idea of what happened in the game. And to me, I mean, it looked for the first sort of half an hour. So it was 15 minutes was the goal, wasn't it? That United scored on, and for that first 15 minutes, from what I can tell, we pressured quite well. We got down the flanks well enough, and I think it's obviously going to be a big problem with us. We keep getting down the flanks against these teams, which is creating excellent opportunities, but we haven't got the personnel to deliver that final ball. I mean, you look at Antonio Valencia, I cannot stand the cross up for it to save his life. Young, we know he can whip a decent cross in, but he takes far too long on that right foot, and he's not the best with his left. And I thought up until about half an hour we were fairly comfortable. From what I saw, obviously you can jump in and tell me that it was different or whatever because I'm just going from what I saw. And it's a decent goal. It's a decent move. I think there was nice quick interchange outside the box. Lovely crossing from Lukaku. We know he can put a decent ball in, as we've seen many times this season. Good block from Bellerin, simple finish. And from there we were thinking, we can go on and put some pressure on this Arsenal team. And I think from what I've seen, far too much was made of the Arsenal team that was put out. I think there was a few youngsters in there. Obviously, they're going to rest players for Thursday night. But what you've got to remember is the same, with any team we come up against. If you put players in there who are fighting for their position, something that I don't think United can do as much. But if you put players who are maybe on the fringe, who are fighting for their position, they are going to put in a shift. And they are going to want to impress the manager, gearing up for that second leg against Atletico. So I think to say and complain and say, we should have battered that side, it's not as simple as that. We know, Arsenal play a certain way of football, which is usually very good, very fluid. And it was never going to be a walk in the park. We said before the match, you expected it to be a tough game. And for me, I think the most important factor and what I've continued to state over the last couple of days is if you'd have told me before that game, United were going to win 2-1, regardless of the performance, would I have taken it? I'd have bitten your hand off. Absolutely no questions asked. A win against Arsenal is a win. I'm sorry. It's not, we're not playing a team who are in the bottom three and, who are struggling as much as other teams. Arsenal are a decent side with good players and they play, a decent form of football. So any win against them is good regardless of the score. And I keep telling people, would you rather us, having played lovely football and gotten the draw or lost? Well, I'd rather get the win, in my opinion. Yes, the football can be better, but 3 points is the most important thing, and especially with the squad that Jose has got at the moment. We can only expect good things in the summer, in my opinion. Things can only change. So 3 points is 3 points. A win against Arsenal is always good, and I'm actually fairly happy. So.
Yeah, well, I think the majority of the fans are.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. The first 15 to 20 minutes of the game, at least up until the goal came, anyway.
Yeah.
I thought we were looking pretty good. Pressing. The way we tried to recover the ball was great. Pogba getting himself around, Herrera getting himself around, Matic, who for me was very close to a man of the match performance, if not a man of the match performance. I thought he was absolutely outstanding again.
Yeah,
he's definitely a big game player. We've criticised him a lot this season for his mobility. Let's say, because he's quite slow when he's on the ball. But in these big games, he has stepped up, and he did against Arsenal as well. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, coming back to that point you made, up until the goal, I thought we were really good. But then after that, it just seemed like we took our foot off the pedal.
Yeah,
and that's seems to be a common theme at the moment. It's not a case of Mourinho changing the tactics when we get ahead, sit back. It's got nothing to do with that. When you watch them playing, their concentration drops. They get too complacent, and they start losing the ball. That's the issue, complacency, and that needs to be eradicated, essentially. Because if we can carry on, if we had carried on like we did in the first 15, 20 minutes, we might have gone in 2-0 up at half time, game probably over.
Yeah,
So I think absolutely right there in that respect. But I do think it was another solid showing from the midfield three of Pogba, Matic, and Herrera. We said it last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
And this needs to be the midfield three now, seeing out the rest of the season. Obviously, barring any suspensions or injuries. Again, I mean, Herrera, not quite as fantastic as he was last week, but he didn't need to be in that game either. But he didn't do anything wrong. He was good defensively, as was Matic, like I said. And Pogba, again, was being Pogba, keeping it simple. Showed a great range of passing, short and long, particularly in the first half. Then obviously getting forward and getting in goal-scoring positions. He did well in that to get that goal at the beginning as well. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later on. I think someone actually tweeted us about that goal, so we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But another one player I do want to speak about, and that's Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
Because he's started the last few games on that right-hand side. And that I'm not going to complain about so much, because the season he's had, which let's be honest, none of us expected. We kept thinking he would fade off, and he sort of has a little bit. He faded off a little bit, then he had a couple of good games. Now it looks like he's sort of fading out again, because although his movement's good, he's not really doing anything with the ball anymore. And I think the last few games he's been quite poor. So I think he should be dropped in the next game. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, you didn't see the game, so I don't know if you've seen much of Lingard in that match at all.
Yeah, do you know what? It was funny enough, because as much as I've tried to watch, there was a few things that was picked up, and it kind of you kind of hit a nail on the head there, really, because what I saw of him was some decent runs in behind the defense, got in behind a couple of times, but again, sort of wasted with that final ball. And it is frustrating, and as intelligent as his movement is, I think it's almost sort of that, I don't want to say it, that Martial effect again, that, it's, a player is, doing well, then it's always that final ball, because we keep saying it. We keep talking about our wide players, whether it be your Lingard, Rashford, Martial, it's always about the final ball. And I think it's something that, we really need to focus on, because for the majority of that game, from what I saw of it, we did play with a lot of width at times, and getting down the flanks and trying to whip balls in, especially when Fellaini come on and we were targeting Lukaku before he went off. Again, that final ball is so important. That's why I think it's essential that we get some fullbacks in the summer who can overlap and who can cross. And I think if we do that, we're going to see a massive increase in the amount of chances and clear-cut chances that we get in the final third. For me, I'm exactly the same as you. I've thought he's done well, Lingard. He's put in some really good performances. His intelligence has been there, but with everything changing and the dip in form and the tactics and everything and the talk and whatnot, I think it won't do him any harm to give him a rest. Rotate a bit. We've got I don't want to say an easy game, but it's a chance then for us to put some other players, some fringe players out against Brighton, I think, because they're not in the best vein of form, and to give them a rest and to give someone else a chance and see if they can improve. So yeah, for me, he was all right, nothing special, and I think you're right, he should get dropped, and we should see someone else come in, whether it be Martial or whether it be Mata or whoever. But for me, he should get dropped as well.
And before we move on to the preview of the Brighton game, which is this Friday, there is one player I want to speak about.
It's Martial.
Yeah. And what I'm about to say may surprise some of you guys listening. But before I go on to that, give us your thoughts on the Arsenal game. Give us your thoughts on the midfield. I mean, it wasn't the greatest game, but are you of the same opinion that you think this is the midfield three that we should be sticking with? Sanchez as well. Disappointing game from Sanchez, I must add, because against Arsenal, you would expected a lot more from him. But I thought he was quite poor as well. Again, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Ash. Again, I don't know if you've seen much of his performance against them.
No, again, I'd have to say it's because I've only picked up on highlights and key points of the game. I saw nothing of Sanchez really. So I mean that speaks volumes for me. If he's not, I've watched maybe 40 minutes, of mixed highlights and whatnot to try and get a gist of the game, and hardly anything went through him. So I think that does speak volumes to say how quiet a game he did have. And I'm sure we'll move on to Martial, and I saw a lot more of him, getting involved. So yeah, it's disappointing. It's one of those. I think maybe if that header goes in at the start, he doesn't, Bellerin doesn't get that block and he scores. Maybe it puts him in a different mindset, and it gives him a bit of confidence. I don't know, but quite poor. Considering how well he's played in some of the big games in the last couple of weeks, it is surprising. Yeah.
So moving on to Martial then.
Yeah.
So after the game, and this is the only tweet I put out about this game. Normally I put several. One with the full-time thoughts, a bit of discussion with people.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, again in this game, maybe it was because of the occasion and the fact that I was so underwhelmed with the performance. Maybe that was why I didn't bother. But one tweet I did put out, and it was this: I enjoyed Martial's performance. that was it. They even put a full stop at the end of that as well.
Brilliant. I like
that. That was all I put. And I did wonder. I thought, not many people who listen to the podcast, or not everyone is on Twitter. We do get the odd person talking to us. Thank you for those who do. Yeah. I did wonder if anybody would say anything. If anybody would be like, "Wow, did you just say that?" And I did get one reply. From Michael Stahl. So thank you, Michael. I know you do listen to the podcast. Well, I hope you do now. I've said that. He replied saying, "That is quite the compliment from you." To be fair, it isn't really that hard to look like a diamond when you're surrounded by turds. An abysmal game. So there we go. Michael Stahl was not impressed with the game, and rightly so. I wasn't. Not many people were. And when I read that, the bit where he says, it's not hard to look like a diamond when you're surrounded by turds. It made me think a little bit. I thought, well, actually, you know what? Maybe that is why Martial looks so good.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was Sanchez out on that left first. Nothing was happening. Sanchez is one that likes to just cut in all the time. He rarely takes the ball down the line. That does frustrate me in Sanchez's game. So when Martial came on, he offered that difference. And the reason I was impressed with Martial is because this time, look, the last few games that he has played in, the majority of games that he plays in, especially this season, he doesn't. He'll run at a defender, but he won't run at him.
Yeah.
But against Arsenal, as soon as he picks up the ball, he's sprinting at these players, right? And he's like sprinting directly at them. So he's not giving them a clue as which way he's going to go.
Yeah.
And more often than not, he'll beat the player either by going to the byline or cutting it in. But he actually almost got a couple of assists as well. He played a couple of good balls into the box. I think one just missed. I think he might have just missed Delaney or Smalling, one of the two. Yeah,
kicked it. Yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah, and then I think there was a few other occasions.
Disallowed goal was his, I think, was his cross, wasn't it? Was it his cross?
It might have been.
I think it might have been.
It might have been. I can't remember. But I do know that there were a couple of occasions where he could have got a couple of assists.
Yeah.
Which would have, you know, he probably would have got man of the match.
Yeah.
I can't be a role. And I would have been saying, yeah, that was brilliant because he was consistently good, and he got a couple of assists. Whereas normally he's not consistently good. He'll play rubbish for 89 minutes, and then for 1 minute he'll pop up with an assist, and then everyone thinks he's, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But no, to be fair, I was impressed with his performance. And I said I was thinking when I tweeted it, I thought, do I put Martial was brilliant? I thought no, because he wasn't brilliant. I thought I don't want to make it sound like, you know, one game and I've changed my mind, because I haven't. Yeah. So I thought, no, I'm just going to say I enjoyed it. That about sums it up.
Yeah.
But as Michael Stow quite rightly pointed out, the rest of the team are pretty poor.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he stood out so much. But look, credit where credit's due. I thought he did look lively. It looked like he wanted to drive at the players a bit more than he has done recently. So I don't know why that's come about now. Maybe he's had a chat with the boss. I don't know. But yeah, I thought he looked lively. Did you see much of him?
Yeah, well, for a lot of what I watched, Martial was heavily involved in it. So again, that speaks speaks volumes to me again. Yeah, I thought he looked very, very good, and I thought it was that switching mentality, because we all know he can do it, but it's switching his head on and actually applying himself. And you know, you rightly said, is it a mentality thing? Is it, you know, him wanting to get back in the team, or is it on the flip side him putting himself in the shop window? You don't know, you know, what's happening, you know, all the talk and, you know, of Juve and Bayern and Martial FC, and it's just one massive saga that one way or the other, I want it to come to an end. But yeah, as you said, credit where credit's due. He did look a lot better. He looked a lot more sharp, and he looked threatening. He looked like he was hungry and he wanted to prove something, which is great. And yeah, as you said, we can only criticize him so much in instances like this. You know, he's put a great ball across the box for Smalling, which if it wasn't Chris Smalling and his club foot, you know, it might have gone in, you know, if someone else is on the end of that. The Fellaini header, I think he crossed it, which come back off the post and went in off Rashford. Fellaini should be burying that first time regardless. You know, so he was unlucky. There was a few other occasions where he got in behind and he ran it, you know, I think it was Bellerin, was it? He was up against on the right-hand side. So, you know, I was impressed with him. It's a lot better than what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And I do think, you know, as much as I love the kid, and everyone knows that, you know, I'm a big fan of his. And some of the things I've said in the last couple of weeks, I stick by them. But I do think he should be given maybe a little bit more of a chance, especially when you've got the likes of Sanchez and Lingard maybe dipping in their performances, and him coming off the bench to do that. Or why not give the kid a run out? That being said, we know he's more effective off the bench in the last half an hour than he is usually starting games, as we discussed last week. So it's going to be interesting. I think he should get more of a chance, and as long as he continues to apply himself
with that performance, surely he's given Jose something to think about.
Exactly, and exactly, and you'd like to think so. And
if my mind is sort of, if I'm saying this,
you know something good's happened. Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely. I think Jose's got to think to himself, you know, this lad's, he's given everything in this match. He's created some good chances. He's done maybe more than what Sanchez and Lingard did in that match. Let's give him a run out and see what happens. As I said, it's a good, I think it's a good, you know, opportunity for him to come into the team against the likes of Brighton maybe and show himself. So yeah, I was impressed, quietly impressed with him, and it's nice to see him getting back to that sort of mentality and that sort of form that we all know he can produce.
Excellent. So, yeah, you guys listening, what are your thoughts? Give us tweets. Ash, what are your tweet details?
It's at Ash Boyle, ASHBOAO. You know it, as usual. I've had some interesting ones. As I said, it's been a little bit disheartening. I even said to you, didn't I? I messaged you saying I'm not looking forward to this, really, just because of the backlash that this match has received and everything. And I think me being out the loop has left me in a little bit of confusion, you know, not having seen the full game. But yeah, no, thanks for those who interacted and you know, got involved. It's really interesting to see everyone's perspectives and you know, it's interesting to see the split in the fan base, because I've had, you know, good messages, bad messages, depending on the result. So yeah, it's we like that. Me and Paul like a good falling out. So yeah, keep them coming. It's good.
You can tweet myself as well. I only asked for Ash's Twitter details, and he gave me an essay.
Oh, sorry. I do that.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. You can tweet myself as well at Paul Gardner LP, or if you would prefer, tweet the podcast Twitter account at United Stand Pod. Give us your thoughts on the Arsenal game. It's probably not what you're going to say, rubbish game. But what are your thoughts on players like Lingard, Martial, the midfield three, Pogba? We had a good game. There's got to be some positives. Give us your thoughts. Should we move on to the preview then?
You can indeed. So yeah, Brighton and Hove Albion away Friday night, 8 o'clock. I haven't played on a Friday in a while, so it'll be an interesting one. You're looking at their recent form. You know, I've included the last 6 games because the 6th game I've got down was in fact that game against us. So last game 0-0 against Burnley. Then they had a 1-1 against Spurs, which is a decent result. Lost 3-2 to Palace, a 1-0 draw with Huddersfield, 2-0 loss to Leicester, and then of course that 2-0 loss to us. So it's a very mixed bag. That 1-1 to Spurs is really the standout result. Apart from that, they're in pretty poor form. Maybe struggling to find a couple of goals here and there, just snatching the occasional one. It looks on the surface like a fairly simple game. Obviously, going away, it always makes things more difficult. But I think, in the big games away from home, I think our players hopefully will step it up. I mean, I mentioned last week, Paul Pogba, having the most assists in the Premier League away from home this season. So, he seems to like a good away fixture. So hopefully he can step his game up. 14th in the Premier League. Again, their form has dipped, so they have slipped a little bit. Can you see anything happening in this game? Do you reckon they're going to cause us a threat? You think it's a straightforward win?
I don't, to be honest. And that's not any... I mean, I'm just ignoring their dip in form.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not been great, has it? They haven't won a game in the last 6 or 7 games or whatever it is. What was it? 3 losses, 3 draws. They're scoring goals.
Yeah.
I think only 2 of those games.
Actually,
no, 3 of those games they felt the scoring, actually, yeah. But they haven't kept any clean sheets apart from that last game against Burnley, so they're leaking goals as well. So I do think there'll be goals in the game, but when it's against Brighton, you just never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Never know. We lost against them. What was the score we lost against them? Was it 2-0 or 2-1?
2-1, I think, wasn't it? Was it?
Or did we?
I can't remember. It was 2-0.
But all I remember is that the last game we played against them last month in the FA Cup, it was like a revenge match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We need to get one over on them. I might be thinking of Huddersfield now. I'm getting totally confused. But no, I don't think it's going to be easy for us. Like I said, away from home. And as I was just saying, it's nothing to do with their form. It's more to do with the way we're playing at the moment.
Yeah.
I think we'll win the game, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park because we've got this knack at the moment. Is if we go 1-0 up early on in the game, even if we don't score, the first 20 minutes, we could play really good football.
Yeah.
And then we just become complacent. And I can just see that continuing, until we bring in new players who, a bit more talent, a bit more ability, a bit more vision. So I just got a feeling it's going to be, I don't think we're going to see any big wins between now and the end of the season. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I think it'll be a victory, but a narrow one.
Okay.
I mean, you look at the last game, for example, when we did win 2-0. Brighton, we were at home as well.
Yeah.
Bear that in mind. They had nearly double the amount of shots we did.
That's it.
We had a lot more possession, but they had almost double. We had 60% possession, but they had double the amount of shots. That just goes to show how sort of slow we were, or lackluster we were, in our ability to be able to create a decent attack and create a decent chance and have a shot on goal. But I suppose you could say that's because we've got no width, because everything we do is too narrow. So when teams come play against us, they defend really narrow, knowing that we're not going to really use that width too much.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be easy to play against, easy to defend against, unless our top players really are on form. And they're not always. You get the odd one who has a good game, but like you said, I think it was Sander who said last week, it can be 6 or 7 players that just don't show up.
Yeah.
It all depends on us, I think, and I just don't think we're going to see a stellar performance. So I think we'll win, but I think it'll be a narrow victory.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it. I don't think we're going to blow them out of the water, but I think it should be fairly comfortable. As you said, it's always an interesting one against Brighton. They can press, they can score goals, as they've shown against us in the past. Who just see for them then who's going to cause us a problem? I actually struggled to get 5 names down, which I normally do with this one. I got Glenn Murray, I've got Gross, Knockout, Kayal, and I even put Locadia in. They're signing, was it in the summer or in January? I can't remember. They paid 15 million quid for him, and I think he's only played 3 times, but he was decent for PSV last season. He got, I think, it was a combined 15 goals and assists in 15 games or something before he got injured. So it could be an interesting one. Have you got anyone, different to that? Have you got the same ones?
I think one player different. I mean, the 2 danger men, so to speak, that I've picked out is Glenn Murray and Pascal Gross.
Yeah.
Same 2 that I picked out a few weeks ago when we played against them.
Yeah.
But Glenn Murray didn't play in that game.
No.
I don't know if you remember, he was left on the bench for that game.
Yeah.
Then he came on later on in the game. I'll be surprised if he doesn't start at their ground at home.
Yeah.
Because he is their top scorer with 12 goals. Pascal Gross has got 6 with 8 assists. So I think those 2 are going to be quite dangerous. We need to be careful with those 2. And one other player that I'm looking at is Dale Stevens.
All right.
Central midfield. Purely because of his passing ability. And he's got quite a decent average rating as well. So he does perform consistently at a good level.
Yeah.
Got 80-something% pass success rate. So he can pick out a pass. And if he's got Pascal Gross ahead of him and Glenn Murray ahead of him, and he's got that good passing ability, those 3 players can cause us problems. And I think that those are the 3 players that are causing most teams problems when they do go and score goals and win their odd game. So as long as we shouldn't have a problem keeping them quiet. But that's where their danger lies, I think, with those 3 players.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think if we show, I think, how solid we can be at the back, because the last couple of matches, at times, especially against Arsenal, from what I saw, I mean, this could be different, that we looked, apart from the goal, we looked fairly comfortable. There was a few half chances and a few balls flashed across, but nothing that really troubled us. And I think as dodgy as our defence has been at times this season, we've been fairly solid. So, yeah, I think as long as we continue that, I think we'll be okay. So how do you see us lining up and approaching the game?
Well, as always, I go with what I would like to see.
Yeah.
Sticking with 4-3-3.
Yeah.
So I think that's the formation we really should go with next year.
I agree. Yeah. So
in goal, David De Gea, obviously.
Yeah.
I would like to see Luke Shaw given some more minutes.
Okay.
On the left. I'm assuming he's fit. He's not injured. But yeah, I mean, I know Ashley Young was rested not so long ago, so he was ready for the Spurs game. Yeah. But I would just like to see Luke Shaw given some more minutes. We need to see him again a few times at least before the end of the season. And there's only 4 or 5 games left.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, I thought they were brilliant against Arsenal, Smalling and Lindelof.
Yeah.
For the most part, at least anyway. I thought Lindelof handled himself well. Smalling's just Smalling. And then Valencia at right back. Well, there isn't anyone else.
No.
Midfield 3, I want to keep the same. Matic, Herrera, and Pogba. And then this is, again, hang on, sneeze. Excuse me. Right.
That's it.
I'm not going to cut that out. That can stay in there.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is where it might surprise a few people.
Okay.
I put Martial on the left.
Yeah, okay.
Sanchez on the right.
Okay.
And Lukaku up top. So that's my 11 I would like to see away at Brighton on Friday night.
Interesting, yeah. Quite. Well, there's a few similarities. There's quite a few differences as well. Which is good. Which is
of
good.
Course.
We love it. We love it. We love a bit of disagreement.
We should do something. We should pit our 11s together and see who comes out on top, and then discuss it the following week.
That's a good shout, actually. That is a good shout.
If we do that.
I'm just going to have to remember to keep the piece of paper that I put my 11 down on. It's fine, I can keep it. So the 11 I've gone with is obviously David De Gea in goal. Valencia at right back, as you rightly said, he's the only one there. I've actually gone with Jones and Lindelof in midfield. I don't know why. In the centre of defence. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Jones and Lindelof. Yeah, Jones and Lindelof in the centre of defence. Just to see, I mean, from what I saw, Smalling and Lindelof were pretty good. I'd like to see Jones being brought in because I think Jones on his day, he can handle himself well. He puts himself about. So, see what he's like with Lindelof. And I've also put Luke Shaw at left back. So a few changes in the defence. I think it's a good opportunity to rest players as well. So that's what I've gone with as a back four. Midfield three, exactly the same. Matic, Herrera and Pogba. And then a front three, I've gone with Anthony Martial on the left. Because I think Sanchez should have a rest, which means I've gone with Juan Mata on the right.
I like it.
Because, and you said before that we have really no width, and a lot of our play comes through the middle. So why not play into our strengths? Mata is a natural number 10. He can pick lovely little through balls and intricate passes. So why not, if we're not playing wide, play to our strengths through the middle? So going Mata on the right, obviously he's going to cut inside. And I've gone with Marcus Rashford up front. Only reason that was, I don't know, I haven't really heard anything on Lukaku's knock. I wasn't sure, was it serious or is it going to keep him out for a few games or whatnot? Because he went off early, didn't he?
He did, so, yeah. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, yeah. So I've gone with Rashford. But even if he wasn't, even if he was fit and whatnot, I'd like to see him given a rest because he's played an awful lot this season. And I think, looking at the FA Cup final coming up fairly soon, and going into the last running, I really want to keep him fit. So that is my 11. Are we going for? Go on, you speak about Lukaku because you were going to say something.
Yeah, I don't think there is anything seriously wrong with him. I mean, if there is, then I'm sure people will tell us.
Yeah.
But when I was watching the game, when he eventually did get up and started to walk off the field, when they've had treatment, they got to go off the pitch, haven't they?
Yeah.
When he started walking up, he sort of looked up at the touchline, and by the time he looked up, Rashford was already waiting to come on, and the board had already gone up, and Lukaku sort of he rolled his eyes.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, maybe he didn't want to come off. Maybe he's not into it. Maybe he can run it off. So, and I'm thinking that Mourinho must have known that, but Mourinho probably thought, "Now I want to give Rashford some minutes." Because it was early. It was only, what minute was it? I got it written down somewhere because it surprised me when that substitution was made. 49 minutes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right at the beginning of the second half.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's unlike Mourinho to do that.
It is, yeah.
And so I was quite surprised. And I think maybe he just wanted to give Rashford some minutes up top.
No, fair enough.
I mean, I could be wrong. Mourinho may genuinely have thought Lukaku was injured. Or maybe he is injured. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just seemed a bit strange to me that Lukaku got up and looked a bit, sort of rolled his eyes.
Yeah.
As he was coming off. And of course, because of how early it was. Mm. But I mean, that was just my thoughts on that.
Interesting. I hope so. And, you never know. Lukaku has scored against Chelsea this season. So looking at the FA Cup final, could be a bit of a talisman. I don't know. But, yeah. Go on then, score prediction. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
I'm going 2-1 United.
Yeah, I've gone the same. That's like I said earlier, I think we'll win, but it's not going to be a convincing win.
Yeah. But again,
I hope I'm wrong.
But again, if it comes to it, if we win 2-1 and we're a little bit, tentative and not looking great, I'm taking a 2-1 win every day.
Excellent.
Marvelous.
With this starting 11, me against you, then.
Yeah.
I think we should change, or me at least. I mean, I picked the 11 I want to see start. Yeah. So I think if we're going to be going up against each other, it should be what we think will be the starting 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, should we do that?
Yeah. So we've got to make changes now, we?
No, this week we'll keep it as it is.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of a last minute thing.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a bit of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be good. I like it.
Right then. I think that pretty much covers everything. So I don't know if you want to go over to Twitter and see what people are saying.
Can indeed, which should
before we do.
Yeah.
So guys, give us some tweets. You got our Twitter details. You can also comment on the YouTube video as well. This is on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Leave us some comments. Give us your thoughts on the Arsenal game. How you think we should line up against Brighton. Any players you want to see coming in. Any players you want to see rested. Let us know. Over to you then, Ash.
Good. So yeah, as usual, recording the podcast. What would you like us to discuss? I have briefly sort of looked over a few of these. We'll get to these. So top of the shop then, Mr. Southwick. Again, Andrew. Thank you again for your, another question, another great discussion point. And it's sort of a double question. He sort of rolled over into a second tweet. So he says, yesterday was the first time all year I basically tuned out after 60 minutes. I was too busy talking to Draughty, which was more entertaining than the game itself. I don't believe a word of that. So I have two questions. One, Martial looked good yesterday, but rusty in the final product. Do you think regular game time would bring him back into the great form he was in December and January? And two, why does this season feel even more boring than LVG's last year in charge?
Do you want to go first then?
Yeah. So looking at Martial, looking good, but rusty in the final product. Will more game times, rectify that? I don't know, because to be honest, for a large part of this season, well, the second half of the season, I'd say then, that has been his problem, the final product. That final ball, and not just him. I'm not just criticizing him. I think Rashford has been the same, and Lingard at times as well. And I really don't know what it is. And as me and Paul have discussed on multiple occasions, he's looked good, coming off the bench in the last half hour, 20 minutes, and threatening defenses. But when he started games, he's not been as effective. So it'll be interesting to see if his form does improve given a run of games. I think he should get more game time between now and the end of the season, especially with the likes of Lingard's form dropping, Sanchez not being on fire as he was. So yeah, I'm hoping it will. I hope he does get more game time, and I hope his form does improve. And then looking at why does last season feel even more boring than LVG's last year in charge? For me, I don't think it is. And I think the major factor with LVG was we were playing in a certain way and we weren't particularly doing very well. I think that was the big sticking point for me. I think with Jose, you only have to look at the comparison with LVG and Jose Mourinho. It's looking like it's going to be our best finish for the club since Sir Alex left. We're looking nailed on for a second place finish, which without that ridiculous season that City have had would have been a lot closer, in my opinion.
Just while you're saying that as well. Just while you're saying that, I read something today that if we win our last 3 games, which is definitely doable,
yeah,
I think it's over the last 12 years,
yeah,
with the points we will have now,
yeah,
at the last 9 years, the points we would have been enough to win the league.
Yeah,
and the other 3 years, runners up. That just goes to show that if City hadn't have had this magical season, we could still be in with a title win here.
Yeah, and I've said this for a long time, and I stick by it. All this moaning and whinging, and I can see some of it being justified, but the overreaction is, as much as I don't want to say it, is getting on my tits. And it really is. It's really great in me. And to the point where I'm really tempted to get off social media for an extended period of time, because the amount of hate and everything that Jose and the team are getting, and I've mentioned on multiple occasions that, you look at the team we've got, it is, littered with players who, in my opinion, are not mentally prepared to play for United, who are not good enough to play for United. And City have made this whole thing and this whole situation worse for having such a stellar season. And that's it. If City are not running away with the league and playing, fantastic football, in my opinion, 60, 70, 80% of the haters will be quiet. In my opinion, I think they've made everything worse. And I think we keep looking to them for a comparison. We are not at their level yet due to a couple of things. They had an already really good squad when Guardiola came in. Guardiola's thrown nearly £500 million at the squad, completely revamped the defence, building on an already very good team. And we're still playing a back four of what Sir Alex Ferguson brought in years ago. So, you've got to look at things, logically. We need to reinforce and we need to get rid. And until we do that, then we can start comparing, in my opinion. So I don't think it's as boring as LVG's. We're second in the league. Yes, it's not where we want to be, but at the moment it's the best of a bad situation that we can make out. We're in the final of the FA Cup. Yes, the Europe was disappointing, but I'm sure we'll rectify that next season. Champions League football is guaranteed next season again. So in my opinion, as frustrating as it has been, I've enjoyed large parts of this season. So I've not got much to complain about. Call me Mr. Optimistic.
Yeah. No, fair comments, I think. Fair comments. But I would agree with you, Andrew. I thought Martial looked, good. I wouldn't say brilliant. I wouldn't say amazing. But he did look good yesterday. And, rusty in the final product. Although he did put a few decent balls in.
Yeah.
Do you think regular game time would bring him back to the great form he was in? Well, look, like I said earlier on, with Lingard dropping form quite rapidly in the last few games, Sanchez he has had a couple of good games recently, but he was disappointing against Arsenal. But he is slowly finding his feet, so I wouldn't drop him yet. But I do think that after seeing the way Martial played against Arsenal, I do think that he should play against Brighton. Whether that's starting or not, I don't know. But I do think that he should get some more game time in the next few games, just to give him a bit of a run into the end of the season. Will it bring him back to the great form he was in December and January? I think great form is debatable. Again, this is a point I've mentioned several times, even during those months when he was Player of the Month. Remember, that was the time when we were very bad.
Yeah.
December and January, that was our worst part of the year. The whole team was rubbish. And I don't think he was absolutely amazing. I just, like I keep saying, he'd play 89, 90 minutes absolutely rubbish, or not doing anything. And then, for 1 minute of the game, he might play one decent cross, which just fortunately turned into an assist. Because that is in that time where he sort of racked up a few. Obviously, there was no other contender for Player of the Month. So people can look at these things, awards and stuff like that. Yeah, they're all great, but sometimes you just got to look at the bigger picture. And I think that's what people are missing with Martial. And I think that's why people that aren't as keen on him get so worked up when Martial FC are going nuts about him. I think Martial FC are actually destroying Martial's reputation even more amongst the people that don't think he's all that.
I agree.
And I think that's what it is. I don't think this season is more boring than LVG's year, but I get what you're saying, that Andrew. The Arsenal game, like I said earlier, I was just so underwhelmed by it. I didn't even bother coming onto Twitter afterwards, other than that one tweet. There have been a few games recently where we've just been lackluster. Listen, it's more of a case of being complacent. We're trying to play football. We are pressing most of the time. We very, very, very rarely ever park the bus, and that's a fact. That's something that Mourinho has always been criticised for. We don't do that. I can't remember the last time we did that.
No.
But it's just a case of the players being, not up to United standard. That's obvious. And I think that's why the games seem boring. Whereas under LVG, we'd have 80% possession, but we'd do nothing with it.
Yeah.
That's why it was so boring. We might be able to keep the ball and play football, knock it around a lot, but that's all we ever did.
Yeah.
We didn't try. And that was the big problem under LVG. No one ever took any risk. And you'd have 3 or 4 fans falling asleep in the stadium.
Yeah.
Every game. I mean, we've seen one clip, one image of somebody asleep with cups stacked on their head a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's the only incident we've seen of that. Under LVG, the amount of times that the fans had to sing attack, attack, attack. Yes, we've heard that once or twice under Mourinho, but under LVG that happened quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is as boring as LVG's, but I get why you're saying
it. Moving on then, Mr. Saunders, my mate Owen, thanks for the question, Owen. He says, more often than not, I'm pissed off watching us play, and after the game, regardless of the result. Do you think the players even care about the way we play?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Again, this is a difficult one because I think there's players in the club and in the dressing room that care more about possibly results than others, and I think that boils down to mentality. I mean, you look at the types of players like Ander Herrera, Alexis Sanchez, Lukaku. I think it's just ingrained in them that they want to win. You've got other players who maybe don't look as interested at times. You can show examples of this with Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, and it could be anything. It could be a number of things. Do I think they care about the results? Of course they do. At the end of the day, they're playing for this club, and they're portraying themselves in a certain way. If they're not performing, the spotlight is going to be on them, and that's just the way it is nowadays. So I think they do care about the game. I think everyone obviously has to care, but I think obviously some may care more than others. And I know where you're coming from. a lot of games this season, even after a win. I think Brighton was I think that 2-0 against Brighton was a particular standing out point. Where Mourinho came in and said after that, nope, that sort of interview, nope, didn't like it. So I know where you're coming from. For me, again, what does sort of cushion the blow a little bit is we are winning. We're winning games. Yes, it might not be pretty, and I keep saying it. We're winning with. In a particular way with the squad that we've got. I'm only hoping next season when we bring in replacements and more quality and more consistency, we're only going to see those performances increase. So I've got my positivity hat well and firmly on at the moment. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I know what you mean. But I'm hoping going into next season, it's going to be a lot better. But come the end of next season, if we're in the same boat, I might be in a completely different mindset. But at the moment, I'm fully aware of what I think is going to happen next season, and I'm looking forward to it.
And let's not forget as well, and I think this is something people do quite often forget. The last season or 2 seasons, you could argue, under Fergie, the football was poor. It wasn't great, but he was best manager in the world if you ask me, and he still managed to grind out results all the time. If you remember, it was Robin van Persie who carried us through that season.
It was
won us that league. He wouldn't have been at the club, we probably would have been 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
It was his goals that won that league for us. So, it's not actually that much different between then and now. And City weren't that good then.
No.
Not like they are now. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have the same players. Well, they got some of the players, but not all of them. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, a lot of people are pissed off after watching United play. I was not pissed off after watching Arsenal. Underwhelmed is the word I'll use. Expected a lot more, and we do, and naturally, and so it's not a bad thing that you're annoyed. Absolutely not. I don't think it's because the players don't care. I think they really do, and I think we do see it quite often in the way that we play. A lot of the players are working hard for the team. Matic, Herrera, Pogba has been questionable at times, but I think he is sort of. I think that's more of a. I don't know what it is with Pogba. I don't know if you can say a confidence thing or not. But yeah, I mean, there are players that really do play for the badge, and you see it in them, and you can see the fact that they do care. So I don't think it's anything about the players caring. I just think it's more of a case of quality. Quality is just not there.
Yeah, completely agree. Cheers, O's. Moving on. Right, can I please commend this man, Riley, at Riley_Kendrick. He has been messaging me a few times, some really good points. And if I could kiss you for this question, I would. But he said, will some fans ever stop hating on Jose? Does progression not count for anything over the course of his tenure? At this point, I think winning the league next year will change nothing. People will still want him gone. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
No, he's absolutely right. They will, and it'll be the same people place. Because there was, I would say small, but it wasn't that small. There was quite a big portion of the United fandom that didn't want Jose. Because of his style of football. It was described as parking the bus, etc., etc. Which, to be fair to him, he hasn't done that at all, really.
No.
So there will be fans that will never stop wanting him gone, and that'll be the same people that didn't want him here in the first place. Some of those would have changed their mind, and they'll be happy with him. I always wanted Jose here. I love the bloke, I really do, and I think he's done a great job, especially when you compare. The job that Moyes did. I don't really know if I ever expected Moyes to live up to expectation anyway. I mean, he was only a manager for Everton. It's not like he was, managing Europe's elite.
No.
Somewhere else, When you consider what Mourinho's done compared to Van Gaal. Now, Van Gaal, when he came, I think a lot of people were quite enthusiastic because he did have a good record. Granted, his more recent record wasn't so great, but what he had done in his past and European Cups, won the league in I think three different leagues, 3 different countries. He had a good record, and he was an experienced manager, respected by a lot of people. So I think when you compare Mourinho, what he's done to what Van Gaal was able to achieve, I think you got to give some credit to Mourinho. But no, I think you are right, Riley. People will still want him gone, and they won't stop hating on him.
It's a shame. It's a shame. Not everybody, but there will still be a few that want him gone regardless, and they just won't be happy until he is.
Yeah, and I think it ties in quite nicely with the next question. Well, a question, sort of a statement from Fionca, @Fion_C_. He says one word: Fellaini. And I wanted to sort of tie these in together because what I thought was, you look at Jose and you're completely right with, that's what's, people are going to want him gone regardless of what happens. And I think with Fellaini, it's exactly the same. And I read somewhere, and I can't remember where I read it, but it was in reply to either Martial FC or someone, saying Jose out or something. But it was complaining after the Arsenal game. Again, for me, a win is a win against Arsenal. I'll take it however it comes. And people were saying that you're only pissed off because Fellaini was the one who got the winner, and Jose was. And I thought it's an interesting way of looking at things. That's like me. I haven't got a particularly good affinity for Chris Smalling, but did I celebrate his goal against City when we won? You damn right I did. And it's because for me it's Manchester United that matters, and Jose Mourinho is at Manchester United at the moment, as is Fellaini. And the Fellaini problem, I don't rate the guy. I don't think he should be at Manchester United, but he is at the moment. And I think in the way he was introduced into that Arsenal game, in my opinion, it was a little bit early. But I've got no problem with Fellaini coming on, late in a game if we're chasing a result, and then whipping in balls, and trying to make him nuisance himself. I've got no problem with that as a plan B, because I think a massive downfall for the likes of Klopp and Pochettino, the amazing managers who play superb football, who are actually behind Jose Mourinho and Manchester United at the moment in the league, surprisingly enough, they haven't got a plan B. You look at Spurs, when we played them, we got, they got ahead. We come back with 2 goals. They had no plan B. They didn't know what to do. Liverpool were the same. They've got no plan B. And I think Jose Mourinho, with having a player like Fellaini, again, I don't like the guy. I don't rate him, but he offers something different. And I think if you've got that in the locker, you can introduce that. It can mix things up, and it's paid dividends against Arsenal. And if we were sitting here at 1-1, my mentality might have been a bit different. And I think maybe, the backlash would have been even more severe from those who are, calling for Jose's head and who are, kicking off about the result. So for me, again, as much as I don't rate him, he has got some use, but should he be starting games for us? Absolutely not. He should be coming on, 10, 15 minutes at the end of games, maybe, to try and, cause a nuisance to himself, grab a goal, exactly as he's done against Arsenal. That's my opinion on it.
No, I can't really disagree too much. I was happy when he wasn't playing. I was happy when it looked like he was going to be moving on in the summer for free. Nobody wants to see that kind of football where we're just lumping it up to the tall guy. I think that's what people's concern is that that's what we're going to see a lot of next season if he stays.
Yeah,
I'm still not convinced he will stay. But one thing I will say is that just because if Fellaini does stay, that doesn't mean that Mourinho's suddenly not going to buy a midfielder, or 2. Because even with Fellaini staying, we're still going to be light in the midfield, even if we only bring 1 in. Especially if we're going to be playing 3-man midfields, you need to have quite a bit of cover there.
Yeah.
So even if he did stay, I do think more will come in, and then we'll probably see a significant decrease in the amount of times that we need to revert to that Fellaini tactic.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So it could be that it doesn't get that much game time anyway. Which brings me on to the next point. I do think he'll leave because of that. If he doesn't, if he genuinely wants to stay, and Mourinho wants him as that plan B should it be needed, if Fellaini wants to stay, I'll respect him because he could go somewhere else and play more regularly. Yeah. But if he wants to stay at Manchester United to help out, the odd time when he can, that's a good mentality to have.
Yeah,
I'll respect him for that. But what will annoy me is if we revert to that tactic often.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it will. I think we'll bring in reinforcements for the midfield, attacking reinforcements, defensive reinforcements. We'll be scoring more goals next season. We'll be winning games more comfortably. We won't need that Fellaini tactic nearly as much as what we probably have needed it this season, and the season before, and the season before, and the season before. How many years has he been here? I can go on 5.
Yeah, it must be
Something like that.
Yeah.
4 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about that. But I do think we'll come in. I do think he's going to want to play more football because of his age. He's not getting any younger. So I do think he's going to move on. It's just all these rumors about he's going to sign a new 200 grand contract. It's obvious that's going to come out once he scores the winner, isn't it? If he hadn't scored the winner, we wouldn't have heard that. It's just lazy journalism.
Yep.
So I do think he'll move on. I think he'll want to play more football. But look, if he wants to stay, I respect him for it. Yeah. Because it'll be a decision that he's, going to make, knowing that he's not going to be playing regularly.
And I think you only have to look at, how we've set up in the last couple of weeks, with a severely depleted midfield, in my opinion. I've said it a lot. I think our midfield is shocking for the depth and quality. And even, with that in mind, we still haven't played him hardly anything in the last sort of maybe a couple of months, have we? So I think he
has been injured as well, I think.
Yeah, he has had a knock and whatnot. But again, in the Arsenal game, he came on for the last 10 minutes. And for me, I think Mourinho was going to go and buy midfielders, and it's only going to push him further down the pecking order. So, yeah, you're spot on. If he wants to stay, fair play to him, and cause a nuisance of himself. But if he does go, I'm not going to shed any tears. So, yeah, that's what we'll put that one to bed quite nicely. Thank you, Fiam.
I think we've got time for one more. I think we've been going on for ages today.
Yeah. So Michael Stow, thank you, Michael. You did mention Fellaini and securing a 200k a week contract. I think we've just touched upon that in the previous question. So thank you for that. And this is an interesting one. Rome's at _Rome's MUFC. With the average age of our squad being 28, think about the massive rebuild the next manager will have to do when players start to decline. Get Jose out before he ruins our club. # free Martial.
I'm sorry, Romes. That was very disrespectful of me to laugh. But accept my apology for that. But that's just a perfect example of a Mourinho hating Martial FC type fan that we've been speaking about. Is it not? Let's start at the beginning, Mike. With the average age of our squad being 28, think about the massive rebuild the next manager will have to do when players start to decline. Okay.
There's nothing to do with Martial in there, is there?
But # free Martial, you just said.
No, but I mean, for that hashtag to come about when there's nothing of Martial being mentioned in the tweet before.
Yeah, this is what I mean. A Jose hating Martial FC type fan.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with Martial in that tweet, but he sticks it in the end just after he mentions Jose out. So, But look, Romes, thank you for getting involved. We appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're going to appreciate our opinion on this as well, just as much as we appreciate yours. But let's have a look at that first bit first of all. Think about the mass manager will have to do when players start to decline. Well, Mourinho's in that position now. He's having to rebuild since he started. So forget the next manager. That might not be another 5 years yet. Could be 1 year, could be 5. Mourinho's doing that. He hasn't made the squad average age 28.
Yeah.
The players that he's brought in have been a mixture of youth and experience, which is what you want. Okay, because at the moment, our team's on its ass. Let's be honest, there's no leaders. So you need to have people in there with experience. So he's done the right thing in doing that. When he brought in Ibrahimovic, he was that character in the dressing room. Yeah. Look at Pogba, Bailly, Lindelof. When they start settling in a bit more, they could become the heart of the midfield. But they're all in their early 20s.
Yeah.
So he brought in some youth. Mkhitaryan was only 27 when he came here. That's I wouldn't say that was getting on in age. That's just hitting his peak. Sanchez, 29.
Yeah,
he could potentially still have a few years left in him yet. So it's not like Mourinho's bringing in aging players.
Kaku's 24.
20. You get another one. Yeah. So actually, if anything, he's probably brought the average age down a little bit.
Yeah.
Not to mention that we've got. I know he didn't bring these players in, but we've got Martial and Rashford featuring quite heavily throughout the last couple of years, which they have.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know why you're bringing up the average age 28 and the thing the next manager is going to have to do. It's almost like you've made in your head Mourinho's already sacked and it's his fault that the average age is 28.
Yeah.
Then I think if anything he's probably brought that average age down slightly since he's been here. Yeah, and then get Jose out before he ruins the club. But if anything, he's improved it so far, so there's no signs of him ruining it.
Yeah. He's done better than the previous 2 managers that have been there before him. So
that's all I've got to say to that tweet.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch upon it too much, because again,
Like you're afraid?
Yeah, no. It's just I think we've discussed, my feelings on Jose and Martial, and I've read a lot about getting rid of Jose and who do we bring in? Do we bring in? A lot of people want Pochettino in. Why? What's he want? And again, that mentality of there's no plan. He's got no plan B. He plays in one way, and that's it. I think Mourinho's success has come about so much because he's an adaptable manager. And I think with the type of squad and the job that he's got at hand, I think we need someone like that. Perfectly, exemplifies the point that you're making, that we have got a mixed bag of squad. We've got a squad that is aging in areas. And I think, Pochettino comes in or a Klopp whoever comes in, with a one brand of football, they're not going to really have the players and the personnel who can carry out, that particular ethos or whatever. So, in my opinion, who else is there? Simeone has said he's happy at Atletico. Again, will that suit us? Who knows? But for me, Jose Mourinho is succeeding at Manchester United. He is making progress, and he is the current Manchester United manager. So, as long as he's at Manchester United and we continue to progress, if we come next season, we're in 6th, we're out the FA Cup, we're out the Champions League, okay, maybe I'll change my mind. But at the moment, we're going forward. So will I look at that and say, well, Mourinho, for me, not making progress, not doing anything too good, I want him out of my club? Absolutely not. He is making progress. He is taking the club to places we haven't been since Fergie left, which I don't think, it's going to take us a long time to get there again with the squad, with a large portion of the squad that Fergie left after he retired. So in my opinion, he is the right man for the job. He is pulling us forward, and I'm not going to talk anymore on the whole Martial because I've said my piece on it. I just want this whole saga to be over. To be honest, it's got shades of Wesley Sneijder about it. So it's that sort of in my head annoying. So yeah. Again, you know my thoughts on it. Want to discuss it? Yeah, chuck it over. Let's see what you think. Do you agree with the tweets that have been given? Do you agree with us? Let us know. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's interaction and debating. We love it.
Exactly. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there then, unless you've got anything you want to add.
I don't think so. No, just again, yeah. Thanks. We've had more questions and discussion points, which is brilliant. The more we get, the better, because we can have a look through and touch upon a little bit of everything. So it makes it makes things a lot easier, and it makes things a lot more interesting, in my opinion. And if we just get one or two, it's not bland, but it's a lot more exciting when we get more discussion points. So yeah, keep them coming.
Absolutely. Riley, Fionn, Owen, Romes, Michael, and Andrew. It's much appreciated. We will wrap it up there. If you've enjoyed the podcast, definitely give us a tweet. You can tweet Ash. What are your details?
At Ashboyo, ASHBOIO again. So yeah, thank you for those who did message me in the week. It's following the game as well, because I didn't get to catch up with it. So yeah, keep them coming.
One day when I ask Ash to give out his Twitter details,
I'll just say the
Twitter details. Yeah,
I will. One day.
You can tweet myself as well at Paul Gardner LP, or tweet us at the podcast account at United Standard Pod. If you're listening on YouTube, do drop a comment below, like and subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts are on the points we've just discussed, actually, from people's tweets. What do you think? Who do you think should feature against Brighton? Would you like to see Martial get some more game time? Would you like to see Sanchez stay on the left? Let us know what you think. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it then. Yeah, I'm not forgetting anything, am I, Ash?
Don't think so, no.
Oh, no, I am.
Oh, go on. Oh, you are indeed, yes, Mr. Ashford.
Dev Ashford would not be happy if I forgot about this. Yeah, so while you're on YouTube, or if you're not, go to YouTube and search VanCam. We had Kev on with us week before last, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had Sander last week and Kev the week before. Yeah, so you've all heard Kev. Get over to YouTube, search VanCam. He does a VanCam show every week. It's a bit of tongue-in-cheek banter, a good laugh. He does a Fellaini Watch episode as well, so I'm sure it'll be good this week. Yeah, so get over and do that. That's it from us. We'll be back next week with a review of Brighton, hopefully 3 points and almost certain of second position. So until then, take care.